Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. And in this video, I'm going to talk about something that can definitely save you many years and lots of stress of childhood trauma. Now, this isn't going to be the cure-all, but I know that a lot of us have had very similar situations in the past, and some of the information in this message might be able to help with that. So, if you are someone who's concerned with learning how to work with spiritual forces, learning how to work with your own higher consciousness and things of that nature, I would highly suggest that you go to my YouTube channel and check out the videos that I did based on this book. This book is called Janana Yoga, and the author is Swami Nirjan Ananda Saraswati. You can find it on Amazon very easily. And the reason that I say that you should check this book out is because it goes over what's called Janana Yoga. And Janana Yoga is known as the yoga of the mind, management of the mind. Because essentially, regardless of what you call the system that you work with, right, you're dealing with your mind. You're dealing with how you interpret the information. So whether it's working with demon spirits or angel spirits, whether it's working with Kabbalah or tarot or any system that you choose to work with, you're still dealing with your mind and how you manage your mind. So what that means is if your mind is unmanaged, if it's unstable, if you still have weaknesses and triggers and aspects of your personality that are fragile, then it won't be long before something comes and upsets that balance. With that being said, it is hyper important to understand the framework of your mind. Everyone has one. Now, everyone doesn't have an effective framework, but the more effective your framework is, the better off you're going to be in the long run. I'll put it this way: if you build a house, you want to make sure the foundation is secure. If the foundation has a crack in it, it might stand up for a few years, but eventually that crack is going to ruin the entire structure. So, with that being said, there's a crack in our foundation. Now, where's that crack located? Well, we've got to look at the foundation of our mind, the foundation of our personality. See, I say go back and watch the videos that I did reading the chapters on that book and also the live discussions, because many times I've shown a diagram. And on that diagram, it's basically the foundation of memory. In the Vedic text, it's called Chitta. Now, here's why this is important: because this is your foundation and your house. And like I said, if there's a crack in the foundation, if it's faulty or put together in a very unstable way, it doesn't matter what you build on top of it, right? It doesn't matter what you build on top of it. If the foundation is insecure, then it's going to crumble. And sometimes that crumbling is a terrible thing to witness. So, in a way to avoid that, it's best to take a look at yourself. Now, this is something that everyone runs from. Everyone runs from this because it brings up painful memories. Regardless of how painful it actually was, a lot of times the memory that we stored, we fear accessing it. So the potential of pain sometimes is worse than the actual pain. Did you catch that? Sometimes the potential of pain appears worse than the pain itself. So because we think of thinking about something and we fear the pain that might result from that thought process, we avoid it. And what happens is we're left with very sensitive topics and triggers that, if they're presented in front of us and we can't escape it, the crack is going to be exposed, and we'll either lash out in anger, run in fear, or do something that is very uncharacteristic of who we'd like to appear to be. So here's the thing. First and foremost, understand that there's two aspects to everything. There's the absolute and there's the relative. The absolute is what it is, regardless of what you think about it, regardless of your opinion, regardless of your emotion, regardless of what's happening in the news, right? The absolute is what it is. And the more that you can line up your mindset with the absolute, the less you have to worry about the things that change. Now, the relative are things that change based upon the situation, based upon the mood or the attitude or whatever, right? So, understand what aspects of your mind fall under those categories, right? Is there a part of you that is absolute? Is there a part of you that is unchanging? Is there an essential nature about yourself that essentially will stand firm throughout the test of time? If the answer is no, then this is what the spiritual science is all about. Going within to find what that absolute nature of self is. Because if an aspect of your personality can be changed or modified, it's relative. In other words, if you identify yourself as a political party, if you identify yourself as associated with some group, or you say, I am this and I am that, and you build your personality around that, that's relative. And one day it will change. It has to, because it's external. External is relative. Now, when you begin to turn that mind inward and you begin to deal with the essence of who you are, you start to touch on what is absolute. Yeah, we're talking about the soul here. This has nothing to do with your feelings. This has nothing to do with emotions. This actually has nothing to do with memory. This is something that is deeper than what can be accessed by the common, everyday individual person at will. So yeah, it does take some work to really get to know this part of yourself. It isn't something that you just say, oh, I'm a higher being. Oh, I'm a chaos being. Oh, I'm a god. Oh, I'm this or I'm that. It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is what you know, what you understand. Because like I said, if you can identify yourself with something and you can change your mind here and there, that's only the relative aspect of it. That's not the absolute aspect of it. And if you want to deal with power, then you want to deal with absolutes, not relatives. So the absolute deals with the essence of a thing. The relativity deals with the expression of that essence. I say this example all the time. When you look at the iPhone or the Android, that's an expression of an essence, right? We can see the essence as really being the creator of the industry, but for simple purposes, we could see the essence as the blueprint. The blueprint is on some hard drive computer cloud somewhere, right? It can't be destroyed because it's not tangible. It's an essence. Now, when that essence, that blueprint wants to express itself, it sends an impulse to the factory and they begin to print out and manufacture physical copies of that blueprint. That's the expression of an essence. So here's what I'm getting at. Your personality right now is an expression of an essence. The personality that you have right now is only a manufactured prototype. Excuse me, it's a manufactured, I guess you could say prototype of what's written on the blueprint. You haven't seen the blueprint yet. That's why you keep changing yourself. That's why you keep going through phases. That's why you keep jumping from here to there and everywhere else. Because you haven't seen the absolute part of yourself. So I was doing some thinking and I was looking at the different layers in meditation. Now on the very top layer, what you actually have is who you identify as today, right? Who you walk around and believe that you are right now. That's the first layer. That's the surface layer. That's the surface layer. Now everybody has access to this because we post about it online all the time, right? You take pictures and you put up different things that you want people to see about you so that they can also say and co-sign with what you identify as, right? Oh, look at that person, he's this. Look at this person, she's that. All based on illusion, all based on what we post online or what we tell people or how we behave in front of people. Now there's a second layer under that, and this layer is who that surface level was built upon. So this second layer pretty much counts as, who you used to be before that. Your past experiences, who you were in college, in high school, elementary school. Who were you all these years before you came to know who you are today? Now see, that's a collection of experience that hasn't gone anywhere. You haven't forgotten. You may have not been able to access it, but memory does not go anywhere. Memory can always be recovered. Ask a hypnotist, ask a therapist, right? Memory can be recovered because it isn't stored in the brain. It's actually holographic. It's stored in your energetic makeup. More on that later. But that's right below the surface. And all the stories and emotions and feelings and different scenarios encased in that level form the roots of who you see yourself as today, the surface level. Now let's take it a bit deeper. Underneath that, you have your entire childhood, how you were raised. Before you became self-aware and you were just a little baby running around, all the things that you picked up from your parents or your grandparents or the people who raised you and the people that you grew up with. There's a lot of scenarios there that you've long forgotten, but they're still there. And they still have a very powerful influence upon you today. No, I usually say that's where most people get stuck at, because oftentimes that's where the trauma is stored that you're afraid to access. Now, it could have been something as simple as one time a bully might have pushed you down and nobody came to help you, or a teacher might have called you stupid and nobody defended you. At the time, that hurt really bad. As a kid, as a child, with a child's mind, that hurt horribly, probably the worst pain. But looking back now, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, it wouldn't hurt the same way. It can't, because you're a different person now. But because there's been so much pain wrapped around the thought of uncovering that memory, you buried it and tried to forget about it. So you avoid it. But the subconscious mind knows. By the way, the subconscious mind is all these layers that I'm talking about. So deep down inside, that information, that data still has an effect on you, still has an influence on you. You may not see it apparently on the surface level, but because that bully pushed you down, now you have a subconscious reaction to when a similar scenario begins to crop up. Because that teacher called you stupid, now you've developed a complex about your intelligence and what people think of you. You see how this works? So because it was painful back then, it's wrapped in a lot of fear trauma, and we're afraid to access that memory. So one of the big things, and by the way, those layers actually go a lot deeper. It goes into your genetic makeup, right? Your DNA memory. They call it junk DNA. It goes into your ancestral memory, your bloodline, your family. It goes into your race group memory, your ethnic group memory. Then that connects to the human race, right? So all races connect at that human race level, which there's also stored information, which is way more than the average person can stand. And then that even goes deeper to the planetary level, and so on and so forth. Kabbalah covers all this. But we're just dealing with the simple parts here. Your personality, your childhood, right? Essence versus expression. I remember myself coming up and constantly I was being compared, right? You could have done this. Look at this classmate of yours. They're doing that. That could have been you. You could have done this. You could have done this. So all my life, I've been compared to other people. And so I develop a complex myself. When I see the expression of what other people are doing, I'm judging myself now based on some outside relative information, right? So here I am going through life. This is my old self, by the way, beneath the surface layer. Here I am comparing my value to what I produce and what I don't produce. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, wow, I haven't created anything, I haven't gotten this degree, or I haven't done that, I don't have this, I'm pretty worthless, right? Ignoring the truth and only looking at what I've expressed, right? Because that's what was taught to me. That was how I was taught to see myself. But I've since reprogrammed that and understood that it's not about what you do, it's not about the expression, it's about the essence of who you actually are. So I learned to forgive myself. It isn't about what I produce. It isn't about what I do. It isn't about a catalog of things that I've done or not done. That's not what makes me who I am. What makes me who I am is the essence, right? Because see, whether I produce something or not, the essence remains unchanged. I know who I am at the essential level. So I don't have to compare myself to someone outside of me. I don't have to compare myself to what someone else is doing, because those are external events. Those are expressions. You don't understand the essence of that person. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what they represent to the world. Your concern should be on what is your essence? What do you represent? What's at your core, not what you create. Your value is not determined by what you create or what you don't create. Your value is not determined by any degree, any accolades, any rewards, awards. All that stuff are cool expressions of who you are, yes. But that's not how you judge a person. You judge a person based on the essence. And since you can't see the essence of yourself, let alone anybody else, it's not your place to judge anybody. See how that works? So in order to save yourself a lot of suffering, first off, forgive yourself. Because how you were raised and the information in the childhood level, that wasn't your fault. You weren't aware enough. You weren't old enough to make those kind of decisions. So you can forgive yourself. It's not your fault. What you can also do now, I give you full permission, you can analyze who you were before today. And you can take a look at how you've been judging yourself. Have you been judging yourself based on the expression of your soul? Have you been judging yourself based on what you've produced or what you haven't produced? Do you say that you're lagging behind, or you're not smart, or you're not good enough, or whatever? Are you telling yourself this shit because you haven't expressed something that someone else can see? Understand who you are. That's what's important. Who you are has nothing to do with what you create or what you don't create. That's the absolute aspect of yourself. The absolute aspect, that's the blueprint aspect of yourself. Now it's going to take some effort to go within and find it. And when I say go within, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Analyzing the mind, analyzing yourself, analyzing your current personality, analyzing where you came from, analyzing the childhood and the triggers that are associated with how you behave today. Analyze those things, because nobody else is going to do it for you, and it's no one else's job to do it for you. It's up to you to do that. And once you do that, once you begin this process and start working on these things, you're going to notice more and more harmony forming in your life, harmony and balance, because these triggers are going to start to dissolve, which means you're going to have less to complain about, which means you're going to start seeing the world in a better light. Because those same influences that have happened on the childhood level, those are the things that are influencing you to see the world as a scary place, as a harmful place, as a doomed place, right? How many of you see this world as a doomed place? That's horrible. I wouldn't want to live in a lifestyle like that. I have, but not anymore. I'm grateful for everything that I have. I'm grateful for stuff I don't have, right? And you can be too, if that's what you want in life. If you want to be miserable, that's your choice. But I've been miserable, and it wasn't any fun. I've been comparing myself to other people. I've been looking at myself and judging myself based on what I have produced and haven't produced, right? Because that's what I was taught. But then I learned that's not what matters. What matters is who I actually am at the core. That's what matters about you, who you are at the core. And when you find that center, when you find out who you are at the core, then you can begin producing things from a level of love, compassion, grace, because you're not doing it to prove anything to anyone. You're not producing things now to keep up, right? So you're not behind, you're at your perfect pace. Other people are doing what they're doing. You don't know their story. You do you. Stop judging yourself so hard. So look, take that information that I just said. Look at yourself as who you are right now. On the next level, look at who you were most of your life. Go even deeper within yourself now and look at your childhood. How were you raised? Go even deeper than that. Look at your family as a whole, without judging what your family has done or not done, because everyone has parts of their family that they're ashamed of and parts that you're proud of. Treat them both equally. Analyze your family as it is, not as you wish it was. Look at it clearly, and then you'll be able to see yourself in a much, much more clear light. Okay? Be good to yourself. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer. Now, everyone's life is different, and everyone has different degrees of trauma and suffering, but this is information that is absolutely able to help you if you apply it properly. Now, of course, you can make up any excuse to not do it, but for those of you who are prepared to begin healing yourself, this is an excellent, easy, free, and safe way to begin that process. Because shadow work shouldn't be going on forever. Shadow work should be completed at some point so that you can move on to bigger, better things. So let's start the process of healing and move forward. You can do that. I know you can. If you weren't able to do that, you wouldn't be on my channel. You would have never heard of me, never seen my face, and you wouldn't have all those books on your shelf. You have those books on your shelf because you're trying to get better. You're trying to become the best aspect of yourself. Not the best in the world, not better than anybody else, but the best aspect of yourself. Start thinking of the world this way. This is what's going to get you ahead. You don't need to be better than anyone else. You just need to be better than your old self. Alright? So my battery's dying, and I want to wrap this video up. So be good to yourself. For real. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys.